My brother, could you give us a summary of what we discussed this morning? One second. So we looked at verses 1 to 9 and we saw three groups. You said Moses, the priest, and the officers. You spoke about the officers and you took us to verses 5 and 8 and you said what?
Now we are trying to just look at we have two messages or subjects, and we say that this class will look at whether those two messages, the officers are delivering, is it the same or different messages?
So we saw that the officers have two subjects or two messages and we're going to see if they're different or the same.
Yeah.
Anything else from this morning's class? From this morning, anything else? Tell me, just tell me when you're finished so I don't interrupt you.
Yeah, from verse 1 we try to expound verse 1 and what the message verse 1 is delivering to us. I think that's the diagram that we now try to see that.
1 second. So we expounded on verse 1, which was the story of Moses, you said?
Yeah.
And the diagram on the board is an explanation of verse 1. Carry on.
We saw that Moses is trying to compare the experience of past that will help them to understand the future.
So Moses, where is Moses? So Moses is here and he's explaining the past. Did you say? How did you say it?
Yeah, he's trying to compare the experience of the past.
He's comparing the experience of the past.
Yeah, so that he can teach them the future, what
So-
will happen.
So he teaches them about the past so that they can understand the future of what's going to happen.
Yeah. But he said he's using compare and contrast. We can say that. And we saw that how does that compare and contrast works.
So he used compare and contrast by this diagram and we discussed how does that work.
Yeah, we said the other asked how can we contrast with that, and we tried to explain that we can see the contrast because in Egypt they never went for a physical war. It's the work of God to deliver them.
In Egypt, there's no physical war. It's God that's doing all of that. God is leading.
Yeah. But in future, as we see the Moses giving them instruction, we can see that now the people have to work for themselves. Yeah.
But in the future, the people are going to have to work for themselves.
Yeah.
And what's that got to do with verse 1?
What?
How does that relate to verse 1? The words of verse 1.
The words. I'm not getting.
If you read verse 1, if we were to read it, I'm not telling you to read it, you've already read it. What is the issue in verse 1 that Moses wants to bring up this scenario? Why does he bring all of this up? What's happening in verse 1? What is he predicting is going to happen?
If I can say that first to say that Israel, they are a few in number compared to the enemy. The enemy are trained. Yeah.
So the Israelites are not as well trained and they're few in number.
Yeah. Now, he's trying to encourage them that God will help them.
What are they feeling?
What they are feeling? They fear.
So in verse 1, they're feeling fear. So he wants to encourage them that don't look at the training, don't look at the weaponry, don't look at the numbers, because why? Why should you not look at them?
God is leading them.
Those three things. What about those three things? It's a bit more than God is leading them. You already explained the answer. Just wanted to give us one more piece of information about those three things. They're worried about them in the future. He's predicting they're going to be worried. He says, don't worry. Why? Why not worry? You already said. Just want you to repeat it. Why not worry?
Because if God led them in the past,
In the past, what was the issue? How many issues did they have in the past?
in Egypt,
How many issues did they have?
they are in the enemy.
How many?
Issues they are in the past.
So people have already got the answer. So I want you to get the answer.
I think they don't have army.
How many? Give me the three. Okay, so you got the answer now. There's three issues in the past. What are the three issues?
They don't have the army.
You didn't say that.
God fights for them.
What's the issue? What's the issues in the future? You read it out in the verse. What are the three issues? What's the three issues? Want some help? Yeah? Okay, so one of them is the numbers. Yeah? Okay, so you do the others now.
Untrained.
They're untrained, the numbers. What do they see in the future coming at them? Can't hear you? No, what do they see coming at them in the future? It's right in the verse. What do they see? Don't shout out the answers. Says the word see. What did they see? And what is a horse and a chariot, my brother? They're few in number. They're not as well trained, and the horses and chariots are what? The symbol of. That's the training bit. Not as well trained. Weapons, superior weapons. If you're an infantry person and the chariot's coming at you, who's going to win? Chariot will win. It's a much more superior weapon. So, do they have the same problems in the past? They don't? When they're at the Red Sea, how did the Egyptians catch up? They used chariots and horses to catch up, didn't they? Yeah? Are they outnumbered? Are they as well trained? The Israelites are not trained. They're fewer in number, and they don't have the weaponry. So it's exactly the same issue of the past. In the past, God sorted all that problem out with the plagues and the pillar of fire, but now he's not going to do it. So he's already telling them, when you go to war in the future, it will not look like the past. Just in case they're assuming that. In fact, they already know that, because what has he told them as soon as they enter into Canaan? What will change? Anyone? What will change when they enter into Canaan? In the wilderness, why did they keep on going to all these crazy places, back and forth, wandering around? Why did they do that? Who told them to do that?
I say God wanted to eliminate the generation, that generation.
They could have just sat down in one place. Why are they moving around? Who's guiding that? Who's guiding that? Someone said? In what shape or form? The pillar of cloud by day, and the pillar of fire by night. He's the one who's telling them where to go. They have a visible presence of God. When they're going to Canaan, that will stop. They have no visible presence. Yes? So there's no visible presence of God. And so he's telling them, when God departs from you, you'll be scared. And you'll be scared because you're going to be confronted with the same issues. And last time I helped you directly. You'll be few in number, you won't be trained, and they'll have superior weaponry. Any other points that anybody wants to add from this morning's class that we want to refresh our minds about? We picked up a lot of things. I think we've covered most of them, but if maybe someone wants to explain it in their own words, or we missed something that they want to add. So back here, they didn't have any evidence, but now they have evidence. And what did you say about providence? Good. One moment. How long is this period? From here to here. How long is it? How many years? 40 years. Sister Anne, how long was it supposed to be? Between the past and the future, it's 40 years. You agree with that? They've been in the wilderness for 40 years. How long was it supposed to be? Not sure? My sister? 11 days? You sure? So, they leave Egypt here, and they go where? Go to Sinai. And how long is that period? How long are they there for? Not the time it takes to get there. How long are they there? How long? 40 days. They're in Canaan a lot longer than 40 days. Sorry, in Sinai. A lot longer than 40 days in Sinai. bit more than 50. $700. Okay, so you're marking 40 days when he's in the mountain. Yeah, but we know it's 46 days, but it's 40 days. So he goes to the mountain, he comes back down, that's 1 month, 40 days, and then what do? They pack up and then they leave? Do they? When he comes down, what do they start doing? So they're doing that while he's on the mountain, but don't they spend quite some time constructing the sanctuary? They construct that at Sinai? Yeah? How long are they in Sinai for? Anybody? Sister Schneider? Yeah, you're sure. Come on. Sister Solange? Sorry? 46 days. Bit longer. My sister? Anne? You're not sure? No. My sister? My brother? At the back? How long are they there? From when they leave Egypt to when they leave Sinai? That period of time. Brother Lawrence? 8 days? 8 or 80? A bit longer than 80 days. Not sure? My brother? Yes? You? No? My sister? Sister Elizabeth? Sister Emma? 1 year? 2 years? Okay, so Sister Snyder? No? Anyone?
2 years.
2 years. You said that with confidence. Yeah? So we'll go for 2 years. You got something to read to us?
I think the reference is the completion of the temple, the completion of the building of the sanctuary. Then we take for reference.
Okay, so you don't have a reference there yet. You're going to find one?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone got one? Exodus 40. Exodus 40 verse 2. Can I read that? Exodus 40 verse 2. Verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, On the first day of the first month shalt thou set up the tent of the congregation. Verse 17, and it came to pass in the first month, in the second year, on the first day of the month, that the tabernacle was reared up. Are we okay with that? 40 verse 17, it came to pass in the first month, in the second year, on the first day of the month. Is verse 17 and verse 2 repeat and enlarged? Is that the same event? Or are they two separate events? What are you saying about verse 2 and verse 17? So verse 2 is when they begin to set up the tabernacle. And verse 17 is the end. So that would mean that verse 2, what year would that be? So the first day of the first month of the first year. Yeah? So that's 1, 1, 1. Is that right? So 1, 1, 1. They begin. That's verse 2. And verse 17, it's 1, 1, 1, 2. Is that right? Is that what you're saying? 1 year. And this is when they begin to do what? To begin to raise up. Yes? And here they end the construction. No, end building. Yes? So I want to highlight that we've got the second year here. So we're in the second year. That's okay. Is there any problems with what you're saying? Is there any problems with what you're saying from your history that you know? What's the problem? So, the first day of the first month, no, leave the first day. In the first month, they're going to come out of Egypt. On what day did they come out? They come out on the 15th, because the 14th is the Passover. So they're already in Egypt on the 15th, on the 14th day. We'll say on the 14th day. So the 14th day of the first month of the first year, the beginning of their history, they're in Egypt. So verse 2 can't be that same one. So that would have to be the second year if you're going to do that. And then that would have to be the third year. But you know it's not the third because it's the second. So what are you forced to conclude? The relationship between verse 2 and verse 17. What year must verse 2 be? Because it can't be year 1. Year 2. So if we put year 2 here, then verse 2 and verse 17 are a repeat and enlarge of the same event. Everybody okay with that? Maybe not. First of all, are you okay with that? You agree with that? So you're just commenting. Okay, so but you're okay with that, my brother? You okay with that or not? So you all agree. You agree. And the point you want to make? Okay, so we'll do that in a minute as well. So we're here, and we've said it. Someone just said it's 2 years, so now we're proving it. The verse 2 and verse 17 are repeat and enlarge. They begin to set up the tent, and I think in verse 17, it says it's all done in 1 day. If we're okay with that. So now we're going to go to another one. So they've finished the building, and now we're going to say they're going to use it. And where are we now? Oh wait, where was this is, let me write that. Exodus 40 verse 2 and 40 verse 17. What verse do you have? Okay. Exodus 19 verse 1. So give us a bit of the story. They've arrived at Mount Sinai here. So that's back here then, is it? So we're back here. So I'll put Exodus 19:1 here. So it doesn't give the day. So we've got 3, 1. Okay, so I'm going to put X here, and I'm going to put 14. It doesn't say in the verse, but Brother William says it's 14 for some reason. Okay?
They leave Sinai, Numbers 10, verse 11 to 13.
Numbers 10, verse
11 to 13. Which is still the second month.
11 to 13. And where is it?
Which is still the second month of the second year.
Is that right? That's when they leave Sinai. So that's about 50 days. Is that 50 days?
1 year.
It's ended here, and it's the first day of the first month, which would be 30 days, then 20 days. Is that right? 50 days? So they're only there for 50 days worshipping. Is that a surprise to you? You thought it was longer? You're going to double check? My brother. Sorry? You're disagreeing with 2 years. Okay, so you agree with that? The third month. We'll read in a second, but do you agree with that? They arrive at Sinai. This is arrival, yes? They arrive at Sinai on the third month of the first year. Just read the verse. Shall I read the verse? I'll read the verse. You can say 19:1. In the third month, when the children of Israel were gone forth out of the land of Egypt, the same day came they into the wilderness of Sinai. So then they might not be at Mount Horeb, but they're in Sinai, the wilderness. And they've left Rephidim. We okay with that? Okay, and then 40 verse 2 we already read. Now it's the next year, the first month, so we're there. Then that's a repeat and enlarge. And then I didn't read Numbers 10. Let's read Numbers 10.
The one that spoke in verse 2 was the word of God, then verse 17 after.
Let me just read Numbers 10 and then tell us if we've done something wrong. Numbers 10 verse 11. And it came to pass on the 20th day of the second month in the second year that the cloud was taken up from off the tabernacle of the testimony, and the children of Israel took their journeys out of the wilderness of Sinai, and the cloud rested in the wilderness of Paran. And they first took their journey according to the commandment of the Lord by the hand of Moses. In the first place went the standard, so it explains how the sequence in it. So the order to march is the 20th day of the second month in the second year. So I think that's correct, isn't it? 22-2, which would make that 50 days. So where do you want to take us? You said a verse. Chapter 9. Numbers chapter 9, verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses in the wilderness of Sinai in the first month of the second year after they were come out of the land of Egypt, saying, Let the children of Israel also keep the Passover at his appointed season. So where are we? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, or we get a new waymark. Where are we? 1, 2, 3, 4, or somewhere else? Can you tell us if we're at 1, 2, 3, or 4, or somewhere else, based upon that verse? We're here? We're here? This is the 20th day of the second month. So the verse says, and the Lord spake unto Moses in the wilderness of Sinai, when? In the first month of the second year. So isn't that the first month of the second year? The day hasn't given, but they're given the month. So they gave the month, it's the first day of the second year. Are we okay with that? So it has to be, this is 1. This is the same date. Are you okay with, so we're here in chapter 9. So in chapter 9, it's not given the day, but we do know something. What does it say in the verse? On the first day of the first month. What does it say in the verse? What did they have to do? Your first day, sorry, first month of the second year, yeah. The first day, first month. Sorry. What does the verse tell them to do? Don't help him. Okay, so it says, verse 2, keep the Passover. So give me the range of days it has to be. 1, 2, day 1 to which day? What's the maximum day it could be? To fulfill this, what's the maximum day it can be? 3, the first, second and third day. So you tell me the number. I want to have the range. So tell me the maximum it could be when that instruction happens. What day number? What's the last day that could happen? Sorry? The third day. Why the third day? Why could it not be the fourth? So it starts on the 14th day. So why can't it be the 13th day he gives the instruction? Yeah, so the conversation must happen before Passover. So I'm asking for a range of days. Why you only stop at the third day? Why not the 7th day? Why couldn't he say this in the 7th day? Maybe I'm not understanding, Sister. Passover lasts 1 day. So here we are. This is the first month. This is Passover, the 14th day. It must be somewhere here. So give me the first day. The first day must be the first one because it's the first month. What's the last one it could possibly be? That's all I'm asking. Can't be the 14th because it's too late. The 14th of Passover is here. So what's the last one it could be? 13th. Who agrees with the 13th? Sister Snyder? Why are you saying 13 for? What do you know about Passover? What's the last date it can be? 9th. The selection is on the 10th. The 10th day is part of the 14th. That's part of the ceremony. You can't go on the 11th and say, I haven't chosen my lamb. Do you agree with that, Brother Paul? Yeah? So it has to be here. So we've got the day even, not the exact day. So chapter 9 is going to be here. This was Numbers 9, 1 and 2. So that didn't help us develop anything new. There were some voices here first. These 50 days? Give me the Bible verse that you're talking about. Deuteronomy? I didn't catch it. Deuteronomy? 2:14. Deuteronomy 2:14. And in the space in which we came from Kadesh Barnea, until we were come over the brook Zered was 38 years, until all the generation of the men of war were wasted out from among the host. So from Kadesh to Zerad is 38 years. So you're going to do 38, 40 minus 38, you're going to say 2. Is that right? If I understand you correctly? So that's where people are getting these 2 years from. And how long does it take to get from here? Oh, what's happening here? This is leave, yes? Leave Sinai? Is that right? Is that what that verse was? Yeah? So from here to Kadesh, how long it is? How long is it? Someone already told us the answer for that. Chapter 1, verse 2. Deuteronomy 1, verse 2. These be the words which Moses spake unto all Israel on this side of Jordan in the wilderness, on the plain over against the Red Sea, between Paran and Tophel and Laban and Hazeroth and Dishab. These, they're 11 days' journey from Horeb, Sinai, by the way of Mount Seir unto Kadesh Barnea. Came to pass in the 40th year, in the 11th month, the first day of the month, that Moses spake unto the children of Israel. So this is 11 days. So what year is this here? What year is this? Second year. So this is the second year. And what month? That's the 20th of the second. And you add 11. So this will be the third month. Are we okay with that? So we're not going to look at the day. We've got, it's the third month of the second year. We know that. Numbers 9 verse 1. So we didn't go into Numbers 9. So you're going to go to 9:15. I think I assumed it was going to be the same event, but now we're going to just proof text it. And on the day that the tabernacle was reared up, the cloud covered the tabernacle, namely the tent of the testimony, and at even there was upon the tabernacle, as it were, the appearance of fire until the morning. So 9:15 is that event here. So 9:15 is Exodus 40:17 or Exodus 40 verse 2. Yes? The tabernacle is reared up. If you're okay with that, then what day is it? We said, when I rubbed it out, what days did we say it was? Day 1 to 9. And now what day is it? Day 1, isn't it? Can we see that, my brother? If you go to 9:17, it has to be day 1. Yeah, without even reading too much. Maybe we're assuming that it's all sequential and 17 comes after verse 1. But I think if you read it, you'd see that it would. It's this conversation that God's going to have on day 1. And he says, we're going to rear up the tabernacle on that day. And then in 14 days, on the 14th day, that's the tabernacle going to be reared up. So this is also on the same day. Everybody okay with that? Any surprises here for anybody?
Yeah, you were asking before how many days they spent from Egypt to Mount Sinai. Some other people suggest 2 years, others say 1 year.
Okay, so from Egypt to Mount Sinai, people giving. I think my artwork here was not very good. I'm going to say leave Egypt to leave Sinai. That's what I meant, not arrive. Did you want to say anything more?
What I was about to say is, I'm still saying that it's only 1 year to arrive at China and then some days they spend there.
From when they leave Egypt, when they arrive at Sinai, how long is that? If I do leave Egypt and here arrive at Sinai, how long is that? 1 year. Is that what you're saying? Okay. What date is that one? I can't hear you. You've got to speak loud. 15th of the 1st. 15:1:1. You agree with that? Okay. So if we read this one, we already read it. It says they arrived in the wilderness of Sinai on the 3rd month. You agree with that? So this here would be, we don't know what day, it's the 3rd month. So it only takes them, say it's the 15th, 60 days? Yeah? Oh, because you're saying it's the 14th, you know that exactly, yeah?
I think it's the 15th.
Okay, so my brother's saying it's exactly 60 days, but it's only 2 months to get there. You're okay with that? So it's 2 months to get there, then they're there for 9 months. Don't know what they're doing for 9 months. There's this 9-month gap, then what are they doing for that 9 months actually? Now what are they doing for 9 months? We do know what they're doing. Sister Emma, what they're doing for 9 months? So we've got 15th of the 1st, 3rd of the 1st, no, 1st of the 1st, 1st month, we'll just do the months. The 1st month and the 3rd month. Then he goes up to the mountain for a month. What month are we now in? We're in the 4th month. He comes down, and then what do they do? Basically, they begin to build. So if that's the 4th month, this would be the 12th month. So there's 2 months here. There's 1 month here. And how many months is that? 9 months? 9 months to construct. It's just basic. These are not, numbers aren't accurate. So this is the construction. Then they rear up the temple on this date. We've got 1, 2, 3 verses to show that. And then 1 month of actually having worship. And then on the 2nd month of the 2nd year, they leave. Okay with that? Any problems? It's not exactly it's not 30 days, of course. So they're only there for 50 days. Where are? They move from Sinai here. They leave Sinai on the 20th day of the 2nd month. That's when they leave. And then it says in Deuteronomy 1 what? Verse 2? 1 verse 2? So it takes him 11 days to get to Kadesh Barnea. And then that's when things go wrong. So what we tend to do is, we tend to do something like this, which is where that 2 years came from, is we say 2 years and 38 is 40. Is that how we normally do it? So if you do that, then you can be, what you're basically saying is, because these dates are fixed, is that we're sort of saying that they do about a year's worth of worship somewhere. But the numbers actually just say they're doing 50 days. So they arrive, they get the law in the next month, then they construct the tabernacle, takes them 3/4 of a year to construct, and then they're going to have worship for 50 days and then they leave. So it's quite tight. It's not sort of sitting around perhaps like we might think. You think, what are they doing there for 2 years? So it seems that they're only there for how long? 1 year. Yeah? The second year they leave. Sister Emma, you look worried. Yeah? Is that what you knew before? Okay. So we're all okay. They're there for about a year. The first 2 months they were? This 2 months? Travelling from Egypt to Sinai. The Red Sea crossing, going to, I think, is it Rephidim? They have a battle. They're crying and they're moaning. All of that prehistory, before they get to Sinai, it takes them 2 months to get there. Sister Emma? Okay, so maybe it's not 11 days. Maybe they're saying it should take 11 days, but it didn't. Okay, so the only reason we went there is because here, what did they receive? It's revision. This is just revision. What did they receive? Or did you find that passage you were looking for? We found that we put them down?
No, that's the same passage.
Same passage, yes, we already put them down. What did they receive here?
They received salvation. They were saved in the Egyptians. I don't see.
So, at the Red Sea, they're separated from Egyptians, and what do they receive? What does Moses give them? Exodus. You can hear it over that side, I can't keep quiet. No. Deuteronomy is serving what purpose? They're here. What's the purpose of Deuteronomy? Okay, so what's this here? Okay, Exodus 15. So this is the song that was going to lead them all through this history. So here, patriarchs and prophets, 387 paragraph 1. You read, I'll just paraphrase.
11 days after leaving Mount Horeb, the Hebrew host encamped at Kadesh.
Okay, we'll stop there. So 11 days after they leave Mount Sinai. It says Horeb there, did it?
Yeah.
They leave Mount Sinai, 11 days they get to Kadesh Barnea, so it is 11 days. Anything else?
And this is the point where they urge Moses to send the spies to the promised land.
Sister Emma? How long were they in Kadesh Barnea? We know they're there for 40 days. So 40 days later, you're in the second month. Say if you got to Kadesh in the third month, and then it'd be the fourth month of the second year. Okay, do we have anything about 38 years, or is that a math calculation we do? Unless anyone who makes a comment, I'm going to move away from this now. Unless anybody sees something that's of a value. What I wanted us to see is all this history, this song here in Exodus 15. I'm going to take 2 years out because it's not 2 years. This is the song of Moses, and it's Exodus 15. And that song is designed to take them all through this history. It was never meant to be 40 years. But it ends up being 40 years. So that instruction, if we were to read it, it will tell you your code of conduct in the wilderness. And then there is of necessity a change in law. Agree with that? There is of necessity a change in law. What Bible verse is that? Hebrews 7. Over this side. Which verse? Hebrews 7. There is of necessity a change in law. As you're trying to find the verse, if you don't change the law, what are you not allowed to do? Enter into Canaan. You can't enter into Canaan unless there's going to be a change of law. What word do we want to use? We don't want to use law, we want to use... No, that's the time period. We don't want to use law, we want to use a new law. We want to say a new song. So there's a new song. There has to be a change in the song. We found the verse? This side. Hebrews 7. Hebrews 7 verse 12. Hebrews 7 verse 12 says there has to be of necessity a change in the law if you're going to change dispensation. So we know that there's a huge argument in our movement today about how dispensations work. So we're being accused of dispensationalism by Future for America. I don't know if anybody here actually understands what they mean by that. They accuse us of following Mr. Darby and Mr. Schofield, but that's patently erroneous, of course. Why is that erroneous? Why is it wrong to accuse us of that? 2 points. The most important point. Why is it wrong, we did this in class, why is it wrong to accuse us of dispensationalism? Dispensationalism is a symbol of that doctrine. It's not just the word dispensation. So let's not get confused about false accusations. Let's keep true to what that symbol means. Why is it wrong to accuse us of dispensationalism or believing Darby's and Schofield's doctrine? The number one premier argument that we have been falsely accused of is what? Okay, so it's a straightforward question, but the answer is not that straightforward. So that's why we're struggling to find the answer. The number one thing, if you believe in that doctrine, regardless of the details, let's not get bogged down in the details because the details already reinforce what we're teaching, is this. Before the end, what needs to happen? You need to have people converted. So there needs to be a conversion before the end can happen. Are we okay with that? End is what symbol? close of probation. So by the time you get to close of probation, before that, what do you have to have? You have to have conversions. That's what their doctrine teaches at its core foundational concept. Is that what Adventism teaches? Of course it does. That's why we do so much evangelism. Because when we go to the world and we start saying, don't work on Saturday, what did they say? Oh, we agree with that, did they? Of course they don't. The world's going to say, you have to work on Saturday. And all the world's going to say, thank you. We're so poor, we like to work on Saturday. If you're in the West, you get overtime money, so you like that. Everyone likes working on Saturday. You get double money in the West, or in poorer countries, you have to work on Saturday to survive. So to convince people that it's wrong, they first have to be converted on the issue of Christianity. And do we teach that? Do we teach that? That they have to be mass conversions before Sunday law, before close of probation. Do we teach that in this movement? No. In fact, some of us have got such strange ideas that we think it's only a one-track issue with the Nethinims. Only one doctrinal truth. And of course it's not. That's what Elder Tess is trying to teach in her presentations. Got 5 days to all come into unity on this issue. There are two concepts that have to be dealt with. First of all, the testing truth. The testing truth is what? The Midnight Cry message. Yes? Which says what? Treat people properly, equally. Everybody. The golden rule. It's that simple. Now you can do that without being an Adventist, can't you? For sure you can. You don't need to be an Adventist to do that. But that's not all that they need to learn. They need to learn some other things. We're offering them membership into the most elite club, aren't we? We call it what? The Church Triumphant. And any membership in an elite club has standards. We have expectations of our members. You go to a fancy restaurant, if you ever do, I don't, and they say dress code. You have to come at least in a sports jacket, if not a suit. Yeah? You have to dress smart. You can't come in shorts or jeans. We all know that, even if we've never been to one. If you went on holiday somewhere and you were sightseeing in one of these eastern countries and you wanted to go and look at the architecture of one of their temples, what did they demand of you? Number one thing, because they recognize what holy ground is, don't they? What do you have to do? You have to take off your shoes. And you say, not in my faith you don't. We don't do that kind of stuff. What did they say? We'll accommodate you. Did they do that? No, they said, we don't care about your faith. It's our building. You follow our rules or don't come in. We don't care. So people from the West who have all these crazy thoughts about rights and independence say, okay, I'll take my shoes off. And if you go to a certain place, you have to cover your hair. They have all these scarves ready waiting for you. Cover your hair or you don't come in. And we're desperate to go and look inside, so we follow the rules. Yep. That's the essence of what Elder Tess is teaching. That this whole idea about joining this movement is not just secular equality. They're going to have to abide by all the rules. Should that surprise us? It should not. We did that, I think, in our first and second lessons, classes that you did with me. What did we say? The Levites need to learn everything that we do because they need to be competent teachers. upon the testimony of two things is established. So a Nethinim needs to understand all of those symbols about Nethinims, which means they need to understand everything we do. They can't understand that as secularists, as people of another religion, so they're going to have to change their religion. When does that happen? Before Sunday law or after Sunday law? Adventism teaches, whether they realize it or not, before. And that is dispensationalism. That's what Darby teaches. Before the end can come, you have to have all this mass conversion. Everyone has to be converted. And then when you're converted, then you can make your selection. We don't teach that. We say, because we follow God's word, Revelation 18 verse 4, come out of her, my people. And who are the people? What do they look like? What do they look like? Do they look like us? They don't look like us. We can say it this way, they look ugly because they haven't been washed and cleansed. So when they come out, we say what? Hold on, before you come, get cleaned up and then you can join. Put your proper clothing on. Yes? It happens then, not before. If it happened before, they would say, we're ready, what are we waiting for? The whole logic that Future for America have got is basically the same arguments that the church has got, which are not fit for purpose. They're a wrong reading of God's word. Okay, so we've got 11 days. We've proved that. They're there for a year. So these 2 and 38, it wasn't my purpose to try and work that out and do the maths. When it says the second year, which is actually 1 year, and then inclusive reckoning, all of that, I wasn't trying to do that. But I think it's a nice line that we've created. Oh,
Yeah,
challenge us.
I'm one who did second year before, 3 years.
Okay.
Indeed, it is 1 year and some months.
Oh, okay. So you was one of the people that said 2 years,
Yes.
and now you've changed
Yeah.
based upon?
Based upon the instruction.
Okay.
Yeah. When we go to Deuteronomy chapter 2,
Deuteronomy chapter 2,
verse 14.
2:14. Where did we have 2:14? Here it is. 2:14. Says what for you? Deuteronomy 2:14. And in the space which we came from Kadesh unto Zerad was 38 years, until all the generation of the men of war were wasted out from among the host.
Yeah. So here they spent 38 years, and and they're going to Deuteronomy is going to be written in the space of some months, and then when you add that month to the previous month before, to give you 2 years.
I'll give you 2 years. Okay? Are we okay to move on? All I want us to see is that you need a song for this dispensation and you need another song for the next one. Okay? So I'm going to point out another thought. We're in Deuteronomy 2:14. What has God been waiting for? Give you a choice of 4 things. Children, women, men, or, it's not here, let me give you the thing, or H 36:27. Is God waiting for children, women, men, or H 36:27? What's he waiting for? What's he been waiting for all this time? Which one of those 4? 1, 2, 3, or 4? Sister Elizabeth, which one has he been waiting for? Tell me the number, 1, 2, 3, or 4. Number 1 is children, women, men, or H 36:27. They're your 4 choices. Which number you want to go for? No, only what? You've got 4 choices, just choose one. Number 3, Number 3. Or the last. I know you've got to go one or the other. You've got to choose one. Doesn't matter if you're wrong, but go for one. Just give me the answer, not why you give me, not the why you reason. The age, didn't give any ages. I just said children, women, men, or H, 36, 27. That's all I said. H. Oh, not age, H. H, 36, 27. The Hebrew word 36, 27. Which number? Number 3. Anyone else? Sister Beatrice, which number? Number 3? Sister Dorcas, which number? Not sure? My sister, which number? Not sure? You don't know what the question is? We're in chapter 2, verse 14. I'm saying God has been waiting a long time. And what's he been waiting for? So I'll give you choice. He's waiting for children, women, men, or H, 36, 27. Which one is he waiting for? 1, 2, 3, or 4 in that order. Number 4. My sister? Not sure? My sister? Number 2, he's been waiting for the women. Waiting for the children. So he's been waiting for children. Number 1? Number 1. My brother? Which number? Number 3? Which number? 4. Number 4. Number 4. Number 3, that's not number 3. Number 3 was men. Number 4 was that one. Which one? Number 3. Number 1. Okay, so it says in the verse, what's he waiting for? Give me the rule number 1 word. You're going to use rule number 1. What word? Brother Benjamin. What word? No. Sister Schneider. Not sure? Brother Rogers. 2:14. We'll keep up. We're moving fast. 3? No. Brother Dennis. It gets so far, I don't even remember what the question is. Just give me the answer. I don't know what the question is. Don't worry about questions. Question is, God's been waiting. Gave you 4 choices. People have got all different choices. And so now we're going to explain why 3/4 of those choices are the wrong ones. So many of us have got the wrong answer. But now we're going to say, what was the wrong answer and why? So now I'm asking, what was God waiting for? We're in 2:14. Before we do that, I'm asking, what is the key word? Rule number 1, the most important word in our study. 2:14, yes. Nope. Wasted. Wasted means what? Dead. What's he been waiting for all this time? To kill people or for them to be killed themselves through old age. He's been waiting until everyone dies. We agree with that? Okay, so who dies? The children, the women, the men, or H 36, 27? Which number? 1, 2, 3, or 4? Read the verse, it tells you, Sister Beatrice, who's been waiting for? So everyone is dead. 1, 2, 3, or 4? 3? You sure? That's number 4. You've got 4 choices. Children, women, men, and this one. You don't know what that number is. We did that yesterday. We've got to bring a yesterday study. If I told you what that was, I'd give you the answer. I didn't want to do that. Okay, so what we'll do is, there are too many people that lost. I'll give the answer, then we'll go back and see how we got the answer. So it says in the verse, what's he been waiting for? The men of war. So, is this a man of war? No, he's just a man. Age 36, 27. What? Oh, what, have I got the wrong number? Ah. That's why he's not working. I didn't check carefully. Naughty. Okay, give me the number then. That's better. 13, 9. Is that right? Okay, now we all can get it right. I'm sorry, I apologize to everyone. I just looked at the number there and I didn't check what the definition was. Okay, so now we're all together now. It says right there, pertaineth, and I'm doing something else. Are we all together now? Okay, so the verse says God waited for everyone to die. Die is the key word, that's what he's been waiting for. And he waited for the men of war to die, which was this one here. Primary definition is what? What phrase did we use? When we say we had two options, one was generally and one was properly, and we changed properly into the most correct. So the most correct definition of this is we'll put soldier, it's not the proper definition. We'll put man of war. So he's been waiting for the men of war to die. Yes? We okay with that? When we read it, what do we normally say? All adults, all men, everyone, men, women, everyone, or that generation all dies. But what does the verse say? The verse says the men of war. So I'm not saying that the men of war and the men are different in real life, but I just want to point out that it mentions men of war. This is Deuteronomy 2:14. And in Deuteronomy 2:14, when it says men of war, it has men, one word, and war, two separate words. Men of war. Wasted means to come at an end. So, he's waited till all the warriors die, basically. So, I want us to remember that point in our study as we start thinking about Deuteronomy 22 verse 5 and then also the issue of Deuteronomy 20. Let's come back to chapter 20. Let's summarize. What God has waited for is by the time you get to the 38th year, all the people that were in rebellion have all died. That's what he's waited for. He's waited for them to be wasted. Wasted means dead. And the people that he's targeting is this fourth group, the men of war. Not the children, not the women, not just men in general. It targets men of war. So I'm just using that as the symbol, not arguing that you've got soldiers and you've got farmers in the two separate groups. I'm not making that point. We've already discussed that we have a militia and essentially everyone is a man of war. Yeah? Especially when we start defining what the qualifications of being a man is, because there's some age restrictions. At a simple level, we'd say 20 perhaps. Yeah? You become a man when you're 20. When you're 20, that means if there's a war, you become a man of war. Everybody okay with that? So, back to chapter 20. All the people that I confused, I apologize because of that Hebrew word. Besides that, do people understand? Does it make sense now, my sister, what God was waiting for? He's waiting for all of those warriors to die before they could enter into the promised land according to the promise. And only 2 people survive, Joshua and Caleb. And they survive because of their faithfulness all the way back here at Kadesh Barnea. Yeah? Okay. So, let's see if we can do Deuteronomy 20. Verse 2 says, the priest shall speak. Verse 5, it says, the officers shall speak. So let's go, we've done the priest one, and now we're just going to do what the officer says. The officers shall speak in verse 5, and then he's going to speak again in verse 8, and once he's done that, everything's finished in verse 8, because by the time you get to verse 9, it's all done. He's done speaking. Everyone okay with that? The word officer means what? In English, what does officer mean? An officer that doesn't do anything. What do we call him? He's military, but he has a rank. What do we call them? Officers that don't do anything. Don't get their hands dirty. General. Yeah? This would be a general normally. Let's go back and see what it really is, because it's not a general. We're going to use Strong's and Brown Driver Briggs. They're both half right. We discussed what that meant. Okay? So we're in H7860. Have I got the number correct? I want to make sure I get it correct now. Okay? We'll drop down to verse 8. Is it the same word? Yes. And verse 9, the same word. 5, 8 and 9 is the same word. 7860. In the phone apps, it's all the same? Yeah. We're all good? Okay, so let's go there and see what it says. We'll go to Brown Driver Briggs first. Official, officer. That's all it says. It's a masculine noun, or it can be a verb. It can be something that someone does. A person does some official work. That's what he does, the verb. Or it can be the person itself. Yes? An official noun does official work, verb. Everyone okay with that? Strong's. So it talks about an active participle. An active participle of an otherwise unused root. So there's a root word which isn't used, and this is an active participle. Don't ask me what an active participle is. Doesn't really matter unless someone's got a good working definition of what an active participle is. You do? No? Okay. So none of us know grammar. We can Google it and find out. You get different types of participles, passive and active. This is an active participle of an unused root. There's a root, no one uses it. They take the active participle of that, and this is what you get. And it means what? It means to write. And then I don't want to say this, I say this in a cheeky way. Then our favourite word. Properly. So this is the proper definition of the word. It's not a general, it's a what? It's a scribe. The proper definition, properly, which means The most correct way to look at this word is a scribe. That is, by analogy or implication, an official, superintendent, or which is a judge. Everybody okay with that? What did the King James translators do when they found this word, 7860? They said, this Hebrew word, we will call it what? First one, we'll call it officer. Then we'll call it They don't call it scribe. Scribe is what it is. They call it overseer. Look at the Strong's tells you. They chose the word officer, they chose the word overseer, and they chose the word ruler. We can see that. They're the three English words that 7860 was translated into. So if you go into your Bibles and typed in H7860, you'd find it says here 25 times. Sometimes it would be ruler, sometimes it would be overseer, and sometimes it would be officer. We okay with that? That's not the definition. The definition is what? The most proper way of saying it, or the most correct way of saying it, is a scribe, which by analogy or implication means a magistrate or a superintendent. What's that? I'll give you a choice of three: religion, military, or state. Which one of the three? That's state, isn't it? It's the government. Religion, government, or army. This is government. So we've got church and state perspective. We okay with that? This is not a military perspective. Any questions? No questions? Everyone good? Okay. So these people are leaders, civic leaders in the church, and they're going to make two statements. Statement number 2, verse 8. The officers will tell the people, if any man is fearful and faint-hearted, repeat and enlarge, fearful and faint-hearted, let him go and return to his house. And it tells you why he should go to the house, so he doesn't disturb everyone else. We're 20 verse 8. Everybody okay with that? What is the priest just told them? Sorry, not the prophet. What did Moses tell them? What did the priest tell them? He says they should not be afraid. And now he's acknowledging, if you want to disobey, if you don't want to have faith in Moses, if you don't have faith in the priest, then go home. We don't have anything to do with you. So they're kicking him out. Yes? He's been isolated, put to one side. Obviously not good. This person doesn't have faith. He doesn't believe in line upon line. Doesn't believe in Alpha and Omega, compare and contrast, juxtapositioning, beginning and end. He believes in none of that methodology. So he's not allowed to do what? He's not allowed to fight if he doesn't follow the rules. Yes? If he doesn't listen to Moses and all these rules, he's not allowed to fight. Any questions?
They should not fear is because they have past history, and by looking the past they should be able to see the future. So that could mean in verse 8, if there is somebody who is going to fear, therefore he has not used this concept that Moses gives in verse 1. look at the past to have confidence in the future. So, therefore, those who not, all those who in fear when they go to war, could they have failed to recognize the methodology that Moses has given in verse 1? And maybe this could be the question is, those who will fail to go to war because of fear, can we say it's because they do not respect what Moses said in verse 1? They do not have confidence in the concept that he gives. Past is going to give us confidence of it.
Yes, I think that's what we're suggesting. That this person in verse 8, he does not believe Moses. And Moses says, look at the past so you have confidence in the future. And when he looks, all he can see is what? The future. All he can see is three things. He can see that he's outnumbered. He can see that he's not trained. And he can see that their weaponry is advanced, more advanced than his. He's got a pitchfork and they've got a chariot. And there's no competition between the two. So in order for him not to be fearful, he has to trust in Moses. In order to trust in Moses, it's not just believe the prophets and you shall prosper. Some this sort of like feel-good idea. Moses is giving them methodology of why you can trust in that. So he doesn't trust the methodology. So this person's fearful, faint-hearted. 1 John 4:18 says what? Without looking. 1 John 4:18. No one knows? Don't have to turn unless you want to. Perfect love casts out fear. So this person does not have what? It says, because fear hath torment. He that feareth is not made perfect in love. So this person doesn't have love. Where? In their heart. Yeah? They don't have love in their heart. If we say, what's supposed to go into our hearts? We don't say the love goes into your heart. What goes into your heart? The law. So they don't have the law in their heart. If we go back to trying to understand what law means, what is law? It can mean many things. One of the things it can mean is what? Law is, in our study, song. They don't have the song. Which song don't they have? Two songs. They don't have the Exodus song, which was the Alpha, and they don't have the Deuteronomy song, Exodus 15, Deuteronomy 32. They don't have either songs, which was the Omega. They don't have the Alpha song or the Omega song. They don't believe in Alpha and Omega. You need both songs to know and have confidence. They don't have that song in their heart. They haven't memorized it. They don't believe it. They don't trust in it. So that's why they're fearful. That's why they're being tormented. Okay, we okay with that?
So, can we say verses 5 to 7?
Verses 5. We haven't done those ones yet. We'll do those in a minute. I wanted to do verse 8 first, because verse 8 is a singular issue, well contained, easy to deal with. It's easy to deal with because this is the same issue that's going from verses 1 to 3. It's all about fear. Anything else? All good? We're okay with the logic? You're fearful. It means you don't have a love for the truth. It's not in your heart. You're tormented. You don't have the law in your heart. That means you don't have the song in your heart. You need both songs. The Alpha song and the Omega song. Are we all okay with that? If we're okay with that, just make one more point, then we'll close. How many issues is the religion or the church dealing with? How many issues? Shout out a number. Who shouted out? Someone shouted out something. Or did no one shout out anything? What? Shout out the number. The church is dealing with 3 issues. Name the 3 issues. No, if it's 3, you know the 3 issues. You don't need to read the verses. Just shout out the 3 issues. Sorry? Just a short word. Number 1. The church. The church. What's it saying? No, it doesn't say that. Church. How many issues? No, what's the church saying? 1 issue, which is what? Fear. The church only cares about fear. What's the officer care about? Number 2. Verse 8, what does he care about? Fear. Religion doesn't care about any issue except fear. The state cares about 2 things. It cares about fear and 1 more. The 1 more, which we'll do in our next class, is verses 5 to 7. I want us to notice that religion does not care about these issues. Does that make sense? Religion only cares about 1 issue, fear. And that fear is a statement about what? About what do you care about? You care about God, or you care about God, or you care about not man. You care about yourself. You either care about God or you care about yourself. That is all religion cares about. You're going to be tested on 1 issue. You're going to serve God or you're going to serve yourself. The state is going to deal with that issue as well. You either serve God or you serve yourself. And he says, if you serve yourself, what are we going to do? Kick you out. We don't want anything to do with you if it's self-service. This is what the state says. It's going to say 1 more thing as well. Let's pray. Our Heavenly Father, we ask and pray that you would guide, direct and bless us in the meditation and study of your word. Help us to gather in these thoughts as you open up your word, not only to give us a surface understanding of what these thoughts and ideas mean, but a deeper understanding, not only that we might get on the right side of the argument, but that we might have a corresponding experience that will change and mold us to be the people that you desire and want us to be. That we could be the church triumphant. We have this privilege, we have this opportunity in these closing days, weeks and months before our next dispensation. May each of us decide not to falter, not to fail you. There are so many voices outside and inside this movement who want to distract and turn us into a different path, into the wicked world below. The only comfort and assurance we have is if we meditate and study upon your word and we all come into agreement on what that word teaches. May this be our purpose and may this be our desire in Jesus' name.